Okay, so good morning all. Today joining for this team event tournament, wherein we are into our league rounds, and 5 teams will be presenting their presentation for today. The presentation goes likewise. Team I will present the first, then followed by team H, X, L, and lastly the team K. So this will be the presentations. The topic is bifurcation of law. I request all to be in sync with how the presentation is going on, and keep on as per the time limits of 21 minutes for each of the team, so that our mentors can actually log in and check in how the people are doing. Evaluation sheet has been shared to all the mentors. I and other two mentors will be evaluating on those. So not taking much of the time. Request team I to present your presentation, and whoever is presenting, just reflect say about yourself, your name and your team details and the topic, and then you can start the presentation. Thank you to all, and good luck to all from my side, and good luck to all mentors also for evaluating. Thanks. We can start.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, team I, you can start the presentation.
Yes.
Sahil,
Good morning to all
you
the.
can unmute. Yeah.
Good morning to all the viewers. And am I visible? Sorry, I'm audible.
Yeah, you are audible and visible also. Your slide is visible. You are audible. Sahil, you are audible also, and your slide is also visible.
Yes, Aryan is starting.
Good morning. Today, me and Sahil Manjrekar, team I present the topic state bifurcation, especially focusing on the Jammu and Kashmir. Firstly, I'm very heartily thankful to Pradeep sir for giving us the opportunity to present the topic. Yes, this is the current map of the India, but to focus on the policy, the state bifurcation of the Jammu and Kashmir, we have to go back to the time of the British India.
Hello. No good. No key.
The map of British India.
वो अभी चैलेंज चेंजेस बता रहा है क्या करने का है क्या नहीं.
Request others to
Sorry,
mute
Tejal, can you please?
हम
Tejal,
लोग
mute
कल
yourself. Tejal, Pooja, please mute yourself.
follow the etiquettes of this thing meeting. Please do not unmute yourself. Let the presenter to present there. Yeah, please proceed, Arun.
The independence. The blue area of the princely state, and the yellow the states under the British. History of getting the special status after the independence, the division of British India into India and Pakistan, their territories were decided under Mountbatten Plan 1947, which had two major objectives: to divide the British India into two dominants named India and Pakistan, to decide to what happens to the princely estate. To enact the Mountbatten Plan, British Parliament passed the Indian Parliament Act 1947. Now, to get into the state bifurcation law of the Jammu and Kashmir, we directly jump into the second objective of this plan, to what decide to what happened to the princely state, because at that time the Jammu and Kashmir was a princely state under the Maharaja. Princely states were provided to either merge with any of the country or run state individually and independently at that time. The carrot and stick approach was used to merge the princely states with India. Carrot to provide the incentives to the princely states after merge with India. But the other approach, the stick approach, was to India will take over the land through the army invasion. Through the carrot and stick approach, out of 565 princely states, India has 552 states and Pakistan has 13 princely states. Out of 552, India has signed the instrument of accession with 549 states and become the part of India. But 3 states which were not able to integrate with India were Junagadh, Hyderabad, and Jammu and Kashmir. The instrument of accession is like a treaty between Indian government and the Maharaja of princely states, which accepting the conditions on which princely states will integrate with India. Majority population in Kashmir was Muslim, but the Raja was Hindu. And when the Mountbatten Plan was created, people thought that Kashmir will become a part of Pakistan. But Maharaja Hari signed a standstill agreement with both the countries, which means neither he wanted to be a part of India nor Pakistan. October 1947, Pakistan slowly started sending his to Kashmir and started occupying the territory from his post. Due to this, Maharaja Hari Singh asked assistance from the Indian government. Now, 26 October 1947, he signed an instrument of accession with Indian government. Result, Jammu and Kashmir become integral part of India. Then Indian forces removed Pakistan force from the occupied part. The result of the war is that 1st January 1949, both the countries had an agreement on ceasefire and has been signed. At this time, Jammu and Kashmir second 2/3 part was with India, while the 1/3 part with the Pakistan. Instrument of accession signed between India and princely state Jammu and Kashmir was not accepted by Pakistan, while Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru took this issue on United Nations, which declared the Jammu and Kashmir disputed area, and to solve such issues, UN urged to plebiscites, which was not acceptable due to the some preconditions for it. To mitigate the results of plebiscites, if happen in future, Delhi Agreement was signed between Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru and Sheikh Abdullah, where Article 370 was introduced to incorporate it into the Indian Constitution.
So, okay. Thank you, Aryan. Now I'll take over. So, good morning, everyone. I am Sahil Manjrekar from DES Animated Institute. I would like to take this honor to represent my institute. So, before starting, I would also like to thank Sri Pradeep sir, Ms. Arpita ma'am, and Dr. Kasturi ma'am for giving me this opportunity. So, we are going to start with the main features of Article 370. Indian Parliament cannot make any law without the consent of State Assembly of Jammu and Kashmir has its own flag and constitution. President rule cannot be proclaimed in the state, only governor rule can be imposed. Jammu and Kashmir has its own criminal code as well. Except for defense, foreign affairs, finance, and communication, and the Indian government meets the state government not to apply other laws. Thus, the central government has a power to impose financial emergency in the state. Emergency can be imposed only on the ground of internal discussion and imminent danger of foreign enemies. Therefore, the state government has a control on how it needs to govern the state without worrying about the consent of central government. Due to this article, Indian national belonging to other state cannot buy land or property in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Next slide, please. Clause 1 of Article 370 provides that the President, in concurrence with Government of State Jammu and Kashmir, has a power to make certain orders. In pursuant to this provision, Article 35A has been added by Special Presidential Order, the Constitution Order 1954. The main features of Article 35A. 35A savings of law with respect to permanent resident of their rights. Article 35A was added to Constitution by a special order issued by President Rajendra Prasad on the advice by Cabinet of Mr. Jawaharlal Nehru. It was neither discussed in Constitution Assembly nor in Parliament. Article 35A of the Constitution protects any law of Jammu and Kashmir relating to the definition and privileges of permanent resident of being challenged and discriminatory or unconstitutional. The article provides for the rights and privilege of the permanent resident of Jammu and Kashmir, which excludes any person from the state benefits who is not a permanent resident of the state. These rights are in the consonance with Maharaj Hari Singh notified of 1927 and 1932 defining states subject to their rights. And next slide, please. So for now, first we will see what is the process to pass any act. To pass any act, first it is provided as a draft or policy. Then that draft is presented in the parliament. When the draft is presented in parliament, it is converted into a bill. Then in parliament, the bill has been passed by the two parliament bodies, that is Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. When after they are passed, then the assent of president is also required. After the assent of the president, the bill is converted into act. So this is the process to how an act is passed. So now Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Bill 2019. We'll talk about this Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Bill. So the bill was passed in Rajya Sabha, introduced in Rajya Sabha on 5th August 2019, and it was passed in the Rajya Sabha on the same date also. Then it was passed in August 2006-2019. It was passed in Lok Sabha. Then the assent of president was received on August 2019. August 9, 2019, and it came into force or it was enacted from October 31st, 2019. Next slide, please. The bill was introduced in the Rajya Sabha by the Ministry of Home Affairs, that is Mr. Amit Shah. The reorganization of Jammu and Kashmir. So the bill recognized the state Jammu and Kashmir into two united countries, two united states. The United Territory of Jammu and Kashmir was with a legislature, and the United Territory of Ladakh without legislature. The Union Territory of Ladakh will comprise Kargil and Leh districts, and the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir will comprise the remaining territories of the existing state of Jammu and Kashmir. Lieutenant Governor. The Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir will be administered by the President through an administrator appointed by him known as Lieutenant Governor. The Union Territory of Ladakh will be administered by the President through Lieutenant Governor also. Next slide, please. Legislative Assembly of Jammu and Kashmir. The bill provides for a legislative assembly for the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. The total number of seats in the assembly will be 107. Of these, 24 seats will be remain vacant and on account of certain areas of Jammu and Kashmir being under the occupancy of Pakistan. Further seats will be reserved in the assembly for the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes in proportion to their population in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. In addition, the Lieutenant Governor may nominate two members of Legislative Assembly to give representative to women if they are not adequately represented. The Assembly will have a term of 5 years, and the Lieutenant Governor must summon the Assembly or at least once in a 6 months. The Legislative Assembly may take law for any part of Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir related to any matter specified in the state lit of constitution, except police and public order, and any matter in concurrent list applicable in Union Territories. Further, Parliament will have a power to make law in related to any matter for Union Territory and Jammu and Kashmir. Next slide, please. Argument for equality. There will be the first time reservation for scheduled caste and scheduled tribes in Jammu and Kashmir. Part of the border scheme of extending national reservation and progressive amendment applicable to the region. For example, in 2005, Hindu Succession Act amendment that gave women inherent rights as men will now apply. The restriction on transfer property under the section 139 of the Jammu and Kashmir, the Transfer of Property Act has now gone. Council of Ministers. The Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir will have a Council of Ministers of not more than 10% of the total members of the Assembly. The Council will aid and advise the Lieutenant Governor on the matters of the Assembly which has a power to make law. The Chief Minister will communicate all the decisions of the Council to Lieutenant Governor. Next slide, please. High Court. The High Court of Jammu and Kashmir will be common High Court for the Union Territory of Ladakh and Jammu and Kashmir. Further, the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir will have an advocate general to provide general advice to the government and the Union Territory. Advisory committees. The central government will appoint an advisory committee for various purposes, including distribution of assets and liability of corporation of the state of Jammu and Kashmir between the two union territories. Issues related to the generation of supply in electricity and water. And third, issues related to Jammu and Kashmir State Finance Corporation. These committees must submit their reports within 6 months to the Lieutenant Governor and of the Jammu and Kashmir. And the Lieutenant Governor must act on this with the recommendation within 30 days. So now I would like to hand over to Aryan Yadav. Before handing over, I would like to express my gratitude to Sri Pradeep sir, Ms. Arpita ma'am, and Dr. Kasturi ma'am, and all the mentors, along with the esteemed dignitaries, for their valuable time and guidance throughout. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sahil. How it can be possible? Having a different flag and working under the different own and different constitution apart from the Indian constitution can make a state be a part of the India. It is a metaphor like having a room in the house but having its own entrance. But after this, now the constitution of Republic of India is applicable for the Kashmir to southern is applicable from the Kashmir to southern point, and no words like except Jammu and Kashmir is applicable. Can you have a separate discriminatory state with the Indian secular republic which guarantees fundamental rights to every citizen? Because in Jammu and Kashmir, because of Article 35A, it is completely a discriminatory regime. It violates against the women and Badniks. The reduction of the state of Jammu and Kashmir to a union territory tend to give a fillip to the concept of constitution being more unitary than federal in character. After implementing such steps, in the region, now Indians can buy the land in Kashmir, which has to increase total number of money in the business cycle, which led to development which results in more creation of job opportunity and can help to increase the employment rate and indirectly affect the terrorism and crime in the area. The involvement in the business and development and job opportunity can change the physical behavior of the people, which help to restrict the activities related to terrorism and crime. Government will able to impact the tourism in a positive manner and allowing private investors to transform the tourism helps to attract the large number of the tourists. Came under the Indian law, help the Jammu and Kashmir citizens to savor the law, such as right to education, RTI, Prevention of Corruption Act 1988, and many more such acts, which helped to change the existing situation of Jammu and Kashmir. The major idea behind such enactment of the laws to make the area peace under the process of the economic development and the development in the behavior and unity of the people. Yes, sir. Here we end this presentation. Thank you so much, sir.
Thanks, Sahil, and thanks, Aryan, for your presentation. Team H, are you there so that we can start your presentation?
Thank you.
Who is going to present first from Team H? Team H, are you there? Okay.
Yes, sir. Pooja is going to present first from our team.
The number Chavere is
Hello.
Yes, Pooja, we can hear you.
Yeah, ma'am. Actually, I have a problem with my microphone, so I'll start it.
Yes, best to start.
Ma'am, is my voice buffering or anything?
It's
Perfectly
echoing.
audible. There's an echo, na, sir?
Yeah. Your voice is echoing. I think you might have joined with two of the devices. So
Yes, actually, my laptop is mic is not working, but I'll try. So, can you give me 5 minutes?
You have to start, Pooja.
Yes, ma'am. I'm
just mute one device so that echo will not be there.
So now I'm audible properly.
Yeah, you are audible properly.
Perfect.
Okay, sorry, sir. 1 minute. Okay. So, a very good morning to all the mentors and all my fellow interns. I am Pooja Patil from DES NMITD. I take this honor to represent my presentation on our topic, state bifurcation and in front of all my respected dignitaries. So our topic is state bifurcation law, and my team is H, and my teammate is Lavina Dimbala. So I start with my topic. Next slide. Next slide. Hello, ma'am. Okay. So let's start. What is state bifurcation? From the word state bifurcation, we can understand that there is a division between two states. So several new states and union territories have been formed in the existing year 1956. So how the groupism was done in 1956 based on the state bifurcation, it was based on politic and historical considerations, but rather than based on the linguistic and cultural division. It was just, we can say, like for the temporary arrangement. So according to the Article 3, bifurcation state had some procedures Next. So now we look to the procedures. So the first procedures is presidential reference sent to state assembly, then followed by resolution table which was sent to assembly, and then later they had to pass a bill to the assembly creating the new state and states, and then finally separate bill has to be rectified to the parliament. Next. So now looking for the demands for bifurcation. So what were the demands of the people regarding to the state bifurcations? Then from the regions which are poor in spite of being rich in natural resources, and disputes exist over sharing and utilization of natural resources with mother states. So here what used to happen, like as they were poor and rich states, so they used to create a dispute, like they in sharing land or supplying water. So it used to create a chaos between the states. And then other what happened, the language. So linguistic and cultural region. That time it was based on primary basis, but now in most cases it is given as a secondary case. Then according to this, there are also other factors which are being demand from the people, that is competition for local resources, government negligence, then improper allocation of the resources. Then there were different culture, language, religion, etc., as I said earlier, and the economic failure to create enough employment opportunity. And last, popular mobilization and the democratic political process. Next. So now we look to the State Reorganization Act, which was established in the year 1956. So what happened that year? There was a reform, a major reform of the boundaries between the states and the territories of the India, organizing them along linguistic line. So what happened in the year 1956? There was a single most extensive change in the boundaries since the independence of India in the year 1947. 1 minute, sir. Sir, I'm unable to see the screen.
Who is sharing the slides? Who is sharing the slides?
Lavina?
Okay, Lavina, I think
Oh, ma'am,
screen
Lavina.
share has stopped from your end. Can you please check, Lavina?
No, ma'am. Actually, I was not sharing. Pooja has logged in with 2 devices.
Sahil?
Actually, I'm having a weak connection, so I
Okay.
can't share the screen.
I've mailed you the, I've given.
To whom have you mailed
Ma'am,
the
I'm
slide?
not sharing. Ma'am,
Sorry,
I've mailed you. Means I've
disconnected my.
Whom?
I think.
Sahil,
So
are you
yeah,
sharing?
ma'am. Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah. So Sahil, can you reshare it? Because we're not
Yeah,
able
ma'am.
to.
sorry for this, ma'am. Sorry, sir.
Sorry, sir, for this.
There was some net connection problem. Next. Okay. So I'll start again. So the Start Reorganization Act, which we saw that it was established in the year 1956. So we seen that how it was Indian states and territories were organized. We also see that how in 1956 it was only the single most extensive change in the state boundaries, as India got independence in the year 1946 that time. So at the same time, their act came to the effect as the Constitution 7th Amendment Act in the year 1956. So later what they had to do, which among the other, they had to restructure the constitutional framework for Indians' existing states. And they also had to pass a requirement to state reorganization, which State Reorganization Act in 1956, which came under the provision of Part I of the Constitution of India, Article 3 and 4. So, one sec, sir. So the idea of this act was 195637, and the act year was 1956, and the act number was 37 with the enactment date 31st August 1956. Next. So as we saw that Indian states and boundaries or territories, they were based on their language and all, but the newly draft came into the force in 26 January 1950, where they distinguished the states into 4 main types. So let's look. The state were distinguished as basically like part A, part B, part C, and part D. Next. So what happened under part A? Before moving to part A states, we'll look that. So let's see who were the people who handle it. So under part A states, these all states were there, and they came under the former governor provinces of British India. And the state which came under this part A was ruled by elected governor and state legislature. Looking forward to part B states, they came under the princely state or group of princely states, and they were governed by Rajya Pramukh, who were appointed by President of India, and these all states were included in part B. Further, so let's look to part C states. Part C states comprised of both like princely former chief commissioner provinces and some princely states, and this state came under the chief governor, and they were appointed by President of India, and these all states were included in this. And in part D states, this was administrated by a lieutenant, and they were governed by the central government, and these all states were there. Next. So now looking for the timeline. So the chronology of state bifurcation in India after 1956. So what happened here, we'll look how bifurcation happened according to the year. So in 1960, next. So in 1960, Bombay. So Bombay was bifurcated in 2 states, that is Maharashtra and Gujarat. In 1963, Nagaland was carved out as Assam. In 1966, Haryana and Himachal Pradesh carved out as a Punjab state. In 1972, Meghalaya, Manipur and Tripura were formed. In 1975, Sikkim were formed. In 1987, Goa and Arunachal Pradesh became state. Earlier, they were the territories, union territories. In 2000, Uttaranchal came out of UP, Jharkhand came out of Bihar, and Chhattisgarh came out of Madhya Pradesh, and they were formed. And lastly, in 2014, Telangana came out of Andhra Pradesh, and then it was declared as the 29th state in the year 2014. So now I would like to hand over my presentation further to my team member Lavina. Before handing my presentation to her, I would like to thank Pradeep sir, Arpita ma'am, and also all the mentors present here for giving me this opportunity to present myself and for giving your valuable time. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. And thank you each participant for hearing me. So, Ravina, you can proceed.
Thank you, Pooja. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. So moving forward, now I'm going to quote some of the state organization acts example. First is Andhra Pradesh. So as a result of the Telangana movement, the Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Act of 2014, which is also known as the Telangana Act, was passed by the Indian Parliament. It bifurcates the state of Andhra Pradesh into Telangana, and the residuary was the Andhra Pradesh state. It was introduced in Lok Sabha on February 13, 2014 by the Minister for Home Affairs by Mr. Sushil Kumar Shinde. The act established the boundaries of the two states, and it also stated how assets and liabilities would be shared between the two states. And it established Hyderabad's status as the permanent capital of the new Telangana state and the temporary capital of Andhra Pradesh. Next slide, please. Up next is the example of Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand. So the Uttar Pradesh Reorganization Act of 2000 was passed by the Indian Parliament in 2000 to create the state of Uttarakhand, which was previously known as Uttaranchal, and it was carved out of Uttar Pradesh. The law was enacted by the NDA government, which was then led by Prime Minister Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee in order to fulfill an election commitment. The bill was signed by President Kocheril Raman Narayan on August 1, 2000. And with this, Uttarakhand became the Republic of India's 27th state on November 9, 2000. Please change the slide. Yeah. So moving forward, now the next example is of the Bombay. So under the JVP committee, the States Reorganization Act reorganized Bombay state on linguistic lines on November 1, 1956. Now it incorporates which incorporates numerous areas, notably the Saurashtra and the Kutch states, which ceased to exist. Under the above noted act on May 1, 1960, the state of Bombay was dissolved and divided along linguistic lines into two states, Gujarat and Maharashtra, whereby Gujarat will have Gujarati speaking population and Maharashtra will have Marathi speaking population. Next slide, please. So next is Punjab. Based on the Shah Commission report in April 1966, the Punjab Reorganization Act was passed by the Parliament, dissolving the former state of East Punjab. Now, out of the former East Punjab, the modern state of Punjab was created. The new state of Haryana was created. Territory was transferred to Himachal Pradesh, and the city of Chandigarh become a temporary union territory to serve as the provision capital of both the Punjab and Haryana. The Punjabi Subha movement, which advocated the creation of Punjabi speaking state, which is Punjab, and Hindi speaking state, that is effectively Haryana, was a result of this movement. Next slide, please. Now, I want to highlight some of the important economic benefit that takes place because of the state bifurcation. Firstly, the new state provided better and more efficient administration, resulting in the construction of infrastructure to improve connection in the area, which also enhanced market access and boost trade for the country's overall economy. Next is, as people in the region, they gain ownership over their resources that allows them an organic growth model to evolve to meet their economic goals. Political stability that results from better people representation produces an atmosphere now that is beneficial in the investment field in that region. So as a result, regional economic development is supported. According to the findings, after the creation of new states, there is a significant surge in economic activity immediately across the borders in the new states. Also, the enrollment in schools have also increased, indicating a higher investment in human capital. The findings suggest that new state borders have 25% more economic activity than the parent state. Now, moving ahead, as every single thing has benefit and consequences, likewise, state bifurcation has also some issues associated with it. Like different statehood may lead to the hegemony of the dominant community or caste or tribe over their power structures. Now, this can lead to emergence of intra-regional rivalries among the sub-regions. The creation of new states may also lead to certain negative political consequences, like a small group of legislators could make or even break a government. There's also possibility of increase in the interstate water, power, and boundary disputes. The division of states would require huge funds for building new capitals and maintaining a large number of governors, chief ministers, administrators, as in the case in the division of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, because of establishment of the new capital at Amravati. Also, the creation of smaller states only transfer power from the old state capital to the new state capital without empowering already existing institutions. For example, Gram Panchayat, district collector, etc. Rather, there is just diffusion of development in the backward areas of the state. So here comes an end to our presentation. Thank you all for being so patient. And now I would like to express my gratitude to Pradeep sir and Arpita ma'am for giving us this opportunity to present our presentation. Thank you so much, everyone, for being so patient.
Next.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Team H. It was nice to listen to you. Mentors will be speaking to you all after the finish of all the presentations. and whatever the queries or whatever the suggestions they will post on. Now I request
Thank you, sir.
Team X to come in and present their presentation.
So this was Team H who presented.
Okay, I am asking about Team X.
X, okay. Pooja, I'll just check with. Sir, Team X is Pooja. Can we have hers last?
Yeah. You
Possible?
required her to present last. Team K.
Yeah.
Last time, Team K. Team K is there.
Yeah, I think Tejal is there.
Yes,
Tejal?
ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay, so Team K, you can start with your presentation.
Okay, sir.
Who else are there in your team?
So me from DS NMITD and Dheeraj from UPS.
Okay. Start your
Yeah.
presentation.
Yeah. Sir, 1 second.
Tejal, who is sharing the slide?
Sai Dheeraj, I feel.
Yeah.
Okay. So Sai, can you just click on that slide so that we can see the view? Your screen is visible. Dheeraj, you
Yes,
can
ma'am.
hear us?
Is my screen visible?
Your, your screen is visible, dear. Just click on the presentation so that it will open up. We are not able to see your presentation. We can see the screen. That's it.
I can see the presentation in mine. I'll stop sharing just. Can you see it now, ma'am?
Now it is visible.
Okay.
Yeah. Good morning, one and all present here. I am Tejal Rane from DS NMITD Institute and V. Sai Dheeraj from UPI, and I take this honor to represent my institute and initiate presentation on state bifurcation in front of all the estimate dignity. Next slide. Introduction. In the past 25 years, European migration policy has been externalized, resulting in a bifurcation of human movements. This has been clearly visible in the content of Syrian refuge. In two judgments, UE Court of Justice was fronted with cases challenging the exclusions of Syrian refugees from Europe. This article seeks to analyze this judgment in the context of border developments in European migration law and policy. The core analysis developed here is that the bifurcation of human development is reflected in a bifurcation of law. Excluded people are to be excluded not merely from European territories but also from European law. So what does bifurcation means in law? Bifurcation is the splitting of a case into two separate reels. Generally, a civil lawsuit can be naturally divided into two major issues for a tier of fact, such as a judge or to decide liability and damage. In a bifurcate case, the issues of liabilities and damages are decided separately. What is bifurcated in government? Bifurcation is a judge's ability in law to divide a trial into two parts so as to render a judgment on a set of legal issues without looking at all aspects. Civil cases can bifurcate into separate liability and damages procedures. Next slide. Next slide. State bifurcation show impact on mainly impacts on governance, fund management, growth rate, infrastructure, industry, living standards. Next slide, please. It's mainly impact positively on more targeted governance, proximity of capital city, proper uses of central funds, better living standards, increased growth rate. Next slide, please. Negative impacts of state bifurcations are divisions, governance, reduced self-sustainability, cost of infrastructure, challenges to industries, and regional economic disparity. Next slide. States Reorganization Act 1956. The State Reorganization Act 1956 was a major reform of the boundaries of India states and territories, organized them along linguistic lines. Although additional changes in India's state boundaries have been made since 1956, the State Reorganization Act of 1956 remains the single most extensive challenge in state boundaries since the independence of India in 1947. The State Reorganization Act 1956 reforms the boundaries of Indian state and territories, systemizing them on language based. The newly draft constitutions of India, which came into force in 26 January 1950, distinguished states into different main types. Next slide. So the State Reorganization Act came forth in 26 January 1950, was divided into four main types, which are of Part A state, Part B state, Part C state, and Part D state. In Part A state, the former governor province of British India, these states were ruled by an act elected governor and state legislature. Part A state were Bombay, Madras, Assam, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, Orissa, and West Bengal. Part B states, these were formed precisely states or group of precisely states. These states were governed by Raj Pramukh. Raj Pramukh is the ruler as a constituent state and an elected legislature. He was appointed by the President of India. Part B states were Patiala and East Punjab States Union, Hyderabad, Jammu and Kashmir, Madhya Bharat, Mizo, Rajasthan. Part C state, in Part C state, it compelled both the forms chief commissioner province and some precisely states. These states were governed by chief commissioner. The chief commissioner was appointed by the president of India. Part C states were Bhopal, Bilaspur, Delhi, Himachal Pradesh, Manipur, Tripura, and Vindhya Pradesh. Part D states this state was admired governor appointed by central government. Part D states consist of Andaman and Nicobar Island. Now I hand over to V. Sai Dheeraj. Before that, I express my gratitude to Shri Pradeep Sir and Arpita Ma'am and also all mentors along with estimate dignitaries for this valuable time and guidance throughout and call upon V. Sai Dheeraj to take ahead the presentation.
Good morning. Am I audible, ma'am? Sir?
Yeah, you are.
Okay. So, good morning, my dear teachers and mentors. So, I'll be speaking about the Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Act of 2014. So, coming to speaking of the introduction, the Telangana Act of 2014 or the Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Act of 2014 is an act of the parliament which was passed by the legislature to bifurcate the state of Andhra Pradesh into Telangana and the rest of the state of Andhra Pradesh. It received the assent of the president on 1st of March 2014. The official formation of the two states was done on the 2nd of June 2014. And this act divided all the assets, liabilities, boundaries, and contracts between the two states successfully by this. So speaking of the history behind it, after several years of protests and agitation, and after the huge demand for a new state that was raised from the Telangana movement, the central government under the United Progressive Alliance government, they finally decided to separate and to bifurcate the state of Andhra Pradesh into Telangana and the rest of Andhra Pradesh. The Telangana movement played a major role in this, in demanding a new state of Telangana separate from that of Andhra Pradesh. It has a long history behind it, as you know. So speaking of the Nizam period, when the Muslim invaders formed the princely state of Hyderabad in the 18th century, and during the British rule, the Britishers merged and successfully conquered the princely state of Hyderabad through subsidiary alliance. As we know, subsidiary alliance is when you make a contract with the British where you pay your taxes and you don't have the whole sovereignty over the state, and the British ensures they give you the British army to protect your territory. So Telangana, it was never a part of the British Empire. When India became independent, the princely state of Hyderabad under the Nizam rule was merged inside the Indian territory based on the instrument of accession. The States Reorganization Committee in 1953, which was appointed by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, who was the Prime Minister of India at that time, of India, to separate Telangana as a new state from Andhra Pradesh. But then later, Nehru had given up his idea after the brutal revolutionary movement which occurred in Hyderabad in October of 2008. After that, in 2008, this movement has again risen up because of the political party called TRS, which is led by the current Chief Minister of Telangana, KCR. And this movement has again started and has become what it is known as of today. Now, coming to the overview of the bill, in the year 2013, the Union Cabinet someone turn on. Sir, I guess someone turn on. I'll continue. So in the year 2013, the Union Cabinet formed a group of ministers led by S.K. Shinde to review the conditions of Andhra Pradesh and to review the suitable conditions for the bifurcation of the state of Andhra Pradesh. This committee included P. Chidambaram and Nabi Azad, who were the finance minister and health minister respectively at that point of time. The committee also took Sri Krishna's committee views, which were based on reviewing and consulting the conditions that were prevalent in Andhra Pradesh. It received the assent of the president, as said earlier, and then it got published in the official gazette. The new state, that is the 29th state at that time, came into the existence from the appointed date by the central government. The Telangana will consist of 10 districts, and Hyderabad will be capital of both Telangana and the rest of Andhra Pradesh, where it is a permanent capital of Telangana, and for the rest of Andhra Pradesh, it will be considered as a capital for 10 years until a new capital has emerged. So now there will be a common high court for both the successor states on the population ratio, and the cost will be divided among them until the new court will be set up in the residuary state of Andhra Pradesh under Article 214 of the Indian Constitution. The board, after the commencement of Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Bill, will constitute a separate Krishna River Management Board and Godavari River Management Board for the working and management of dams. As we know, Krishna and Godavari are the prominent rivers present in the state of Andhra Pradesh earlier. So even these rivers have been equally divided among the states. And speaking of things, the sharing of the river water between both successive states will be done as such as explained earlier. Allocations such as of coal, natural gas, and other things will be done to the newly formed state of Telangana according to the guidelines, strategies, and policies of the state government. The Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, Chandrababu Naidu, stated in Andhra Pradesh Legislative Assembly in September of 2014, and that the new capital of state Andhra Pradesh will be Amaravati. But now discussions are going on by the new Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, who is Jagan Mohan Reddy, and he's thinking of initiating 3 capitals for the state. And speaking of silent features and objectives, the Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Bill of 2014 it contains of 108 sections in 12 parts and 13 schedules. So after the state of Andhra Pradesh, it will consist of all those districts which will cease to be the districts of Telangana, except those of the districts which are specified in that schedule. And after the Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Act came into force, a newly state named Telangana was added to the list number of 29th, which was the 29th state at that time, not after the Kashmir and Ladakh division, which was earlier 28, as you know. Now there are 29 states in India, and the amendment is being made to the first schedule of the Indian Constitution. Now there will be 17 members to the Council of State of Andhra Pradesh and 11 members in the House of People of Andhra Pradesh. Earlier, there were 18 and 25 sitting members of the Council of States and House of People respectively. This amendment is made to the 4th schedule of the Indian Constitution, the 4th schedule of Indian Constitution. So the number of seats in the Legislative Assembly of Telangana will be 119, and the number of seats in the Legislative Assembly of Andhra Pradesh will be 175. The governor, under the article of 333 of the Indian Constitution, will nominate 1 member from each successive state to the Legislative Assembly to represent the Anglo-Indian community of India. So the number of seats of Legislative Assembly in the state of Andhra Pradesh has increased from 175 to 225, and in the state of Telangana from 119 to 153. Keeping in mind the provision of Article 170 of the Indian Constitution, Section 15 of the Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Act of 2014. Under the provisions mentioned in Article 169 of the Indian Constitution, legislation councils will be constituted for both the states of Andhra Pradesh and the state of Telangana. The total members in Legislative Council shall be 50 and 40 respectively. So the revenue and other financial related aspects shall be distributed between the 2 successor states based on population ratio and considering other criteria as well. This was mentioned in the 13th Financial Commission, all these aspects, and In the 14th Finance Commission of India, the President of India said that the separate awards should be made for both of the successor states. The common admission procedure will follow up the both of the successor states for the transition period of over 10 years. So both the states will be given a transition period of 10 years. So the successor states will be entitled for benefits and will be liable to bear all the costs and expenses resulting from the decisions taken by the state of Andhra Pradesh. In case of any difficulty or a hurdle, the President of India may order or do anything that should not be inconsistent with the provisions and principles are given in this act. So if there are any differences between the states, the President can step in and he can take a decision without making any new changes to the previously established rules. The Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Act of 2014 also, one thing is to be noted that every order made under this section shall mandatorily be presented in each house of the parliament. So whatever the decision is being made, it will be passed through each parliament, both in Andhra Pradesh and in Telangana. Now, speaking of amendments by this, the Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Amendment Bill 2015 was presented in the year 2015. So by the Minister of Home Affairs, which was led by Mr. Rajnath Singh before the Parliament. It seeks to amend the Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Act of 2014. This bill was successfully passed in Lok Sabha on 17th of March 2015 and in the Rajya Sabha on 20th of March 2015. So within 3 days, it has been passed from Lok Sabha to the Rajya Sabha. The Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Act of 2014 provides for the three bifurcation of the state of Andhra Pradesh and also provides for separate legislative assemblies for both the states separately and distribution of case and credits on finance and revenue distribution, representation of successor states in parliament and creation of separate cadres in administrative services, creation of new water resources and dams over the rivers on other such things has been differentiated between both the states separately. The bill seeks to make changes in the provisions of the present Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Act of 2014. Currently, the members of the Legislative Councils of Andhra Pradesh shall be elected from different backgrounds. In keeping with the provisions mentioned in the Indian Constitution, these members should not exceed more than 50. And now, but Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Act Amendment Bill of 2015 seeks to amend the present provisions by increasing the strength of members from 50 to 58 members. Also, this bill seeks to increase the number by 20 from 17 of the members elected from the municipalities and local boards. The same goes for the members elected for legislative assemblies. This bill seeks to increase the maximum number of members and this shall be appointed by the governor from 6 to 8. Other provisions are given in Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Act of 2014. Remain unaffected and will not be changed by the bill, and no amendments shall be made to them. Now, coming to the conclusion of this act, this is just a brief interview and history and objectives of the Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Act of 2014. This act resulted in an entirely different state, that is of Telangana, which has been a long course since from the year 1969. This act resulted in changing various schedules and articles of the Indian Constitution. Only the future can decide the implement of this act and the state of the newly formed state of Telangana. Yeah. That's my part. Thank you, sir and ma'am, for giving me this opportunity, and I shall conclude by this.
Yeah, thanks, Team H, for your presentation. What I was looking out for, your presentation was only on the first slide, so I was more looking out for the slides. Do send your slide also so that we can review on that. Now I request Team L to present their presentation. Team L, are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, you can start your presentation.
Yeah.
Who is there from your team?
It's only me, sir.
Okay.
Yeah. Am I perfectly audible, sir?
Yeah.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I am Saili Kamre from DS NMITD Institute, and I take this honor to initiate representation on state bifurcation law in front of all the esteemed dignitaries. So let's move towards the introduction part. Yeah. So India comprises 29 states and 7 union territories. However, the political map of India has been changed a couple of times. Boundaries were redrawn at several stages as India is an indestructible union of. So the slide, I'm not able to see the slide. Yeah. So boundaries were redrawn at several stages as India is an indestructible union of indestructible states. On January 26, 1950, with the commencement of the Constitution, India became a sovereign democratic republic. So post India's independence in 1947, India saw political movements for the creation of new states on linguistic lines. The central government, however, was not keen on heeding to this demand in the wake of the bloody partition of India. The government fears it may result in further partition of the country. The government appointed Dhar Committee and JVP Committee to consider the demand for linguistic states, had both rejected language to be criteria. Next part. Yeah. So what is state bifurcation law? So bifurcation is a judge's ability in law to divide trial into two parts as to render a judgment on a set of legal issues without looking at all aspects. Next one. Yeah. So let's see the history of state bifurcation. After the partition of India, some of these administrative divisions became part of the dominion of Pakistan, whilst the remaining states and provinces formed the dominion of India. The colonial system of administration continued until 1956, when the State Reorganization Act abolished the provinces and princely states in favor of new states which were based on language and ethnicity. Next. Yeah. So 1947 and between 1947 and about 1950, the territories of the princely states were politically integrated into the Indian Union. Several states were merged into existing provinces. Others were organized into unions such as Rajputana, Himachal Pradesh, Madhya Bharat, and Vindhya Pradesh, make up of multiple princely states, a few including Mysore, Hyderabad, Bhopal, Bilaspur remain separate states. The first of its kind linguistic movement started in 1895 in what is now Odisha. The movement gained momentum in later years with the demand for a separate Orissa province to be formed by bifurcating the existing Bihar and Orissa province. During the 1950-1956 period, other small changes were made to state boundaries. The small state of Bilaspur was merged with the Himachal Pradesh on 1st July 1954, and Chandranagar, a former enclave of the French India, was incorporated into West Bengal in 1955. Next. Yeah. So, State Reorganization Act 1956. The state of India were originally formed as a result of historical accidents and circumstances. After independence, there was a growing demand for reorganization of the states on more rational basis in the context of not only from financial, economic, and demonstrative management of independent India, but also due to growing importance of regional languages. For the first time, the State Reorganization Commission was constituted in 1953 to go into the problem and to recommend the principles and broad guidelines on which the states can be reorganized. The commission submitted its report in September 1955. The commission was appointed by Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru. SRC was headed by S. Fazal Ali and had two members, namely M. Panikkar and H.N. Kanzu. To give effect to the scheme, the organization which emerged from the consideration of the proposals contained in the support, the States Reorganization Act 1956 was enacted by the Parliament under Article 3 of the Constitution of India. Next slide. So here are the four main types of states: Part A, Part B, Part C, and Part D. So in Part A states, 9 former governance provinces of British were made. These were Assam, Bombay, Madhya Pradesh, Madras, Orissa, Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, and West Bengal. They were to be ruled by an elected governor and a state legislator. Then Part B states. 8 former princely states or groups of smaller princely states were made from Part B states. These states were governed by president appointed Raj Pramukh and an elected legislature. The 8 Part B states were Hyderabad, Jammu Kashmir, Madhya Bharat, Mysore, Patiala, and East Punjab State. East Punjab State Union, that is PEPSU, Rajasthan, Saurashtra, and Travancore Cochin. Then Part C states. Then 10 former chief commissioners, provinces, and some princely states were made Part C states. These were governed by chief commission appointed by the President of India. The Part C states were Ajmer, Bhopal, Bilaspur, Coorg, Delhi, Himachal Pradesh, Kutch, Manipur, Tripura, and Vindhya Pradesh. Then Part D state. Andaman and Nicobar Islands was the only Part D state and was administered by a central government appointed lieutenant governor. Next. So let's see Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Act 2014. The Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Act 2014, commonly known as the Telangana Act. It is an act of Indian Parliament that bifurcated the state of Andhra Pradesh into Telangana and the residuary Andhra Pradesh state as an outcome of the Telangana movement. The act defines the boundaries of 2 states, determined how the assets and liabilities were to be divided, and laid out the states of Hyderabad as the permanent capital of New Telangana state and temporary capital of the Andhra Pradesh state. Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Act 2014 for bifurcation of Andhra Pradesh received the President assets on 1st March 2014. The appointment day for the new state formation is 2nd June 2014. Next. Uttarakhand movement. Uttarakhand movement is termed to be events of stakeholder activism within the state and Uttar Pradesh, which ultimately resulted in a specific state, Uttarakhand, India. Uttarakhand became a separate state of India on 9th November 2000. It is believed that the formation of Uttarakhand was achieved after long struggle and many sacrifices. The first demand of a separate state, Uttarakhand, arose in 1897. The demand gradually strengthened following a series of events. In 1994, the demand for a separate state eventually took the form of mass movement that resulted in the formation of India's 27th state by 2000. Next. So here are the events of the moment. There were several violent incidents in Uttarakhand movement, which are Khatima firing case, Masuri firing case, Rampur Tiraha, this is in Muzaffarnagar firing case, Dehradun firing case, and Kotdwar case. Next. Now, Jharkhand bifurcation movement. Jharkhand movement repudiated the Nehruism model of nation building by reinventing regionalism as their basis of state reorganization in India. The main aim of the Jharkhand movement was the creation of separate Adivasi state. With this, Adivasi Mahasabha got affected since they were the champions for separate Adivasi states. Next. According to the 1941 census, the land of Jharkhand had only 44% of tribals. Thus, the demand of having a separate tribal state could not be fulfilled. The resulted in the formation of a new regional party, United Jharkhand Party, in 1948. The Jharkhand Party declared to establish a separate state comprising of mineral beds of Bihar, Orissa, West Bengal, and Madhya Pradesh. The demand for a separate state includes autonomy and preservation of tribal culture and language. This was made by 52 MLAs of Bihar Assembly, who were also in opposition in the assembly under the initiative taken by Devendra Champion. Next. Yeah. So now Chhattisgarh bifurcation movement. The present state of Chhattisgarh was carved out of Madhya Pradesh on 1st November 2000. The demand for a separate state was first raised in the 1920s. When the State Reorganization Commission was set up in 1954, the demand for a separate Chhattisgarh was put forward, but was not accepted. In 1955, a demand for a separate state was raised in the Nagpur Assembly of the and then state of Madhya Pradesh. The President of India gave his consent to the Madhya Pradesh Reorganization Act 2000 on 25th August 2000. The government of the India subsequently set 1st November 2000 as the day of the state of Madhya Pradesh would be divided into Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh. Next. Yeah. So we'll see the impact of state bifurcation. First is governance, next fund management, growth rate, infrastructure industries, and living standards. Next. The positive impact of state bifurcation on economy, more targeted governance, proximity of capital city, proper usage of central funds, better living standards, increased growth rate. Next. Negative impact of state bifurcation on economy, division versus governance, reduced self-sustainability, cost of infrastructure, challenges to industries, regional economic disparity. Next. Yeah. So the bifurcation will impact a wide range of relevant aspects, including the division of assets and liabilities, water resources, land resources, and the division of pensionaries and existing government employees and public sector enterprises. It would be better if every aspect is thoroughly analyzed before the bifurcation of states. Only then the state bifurcation helps in the development of bifurcated states as well as for the nation. So I express my gratitude to Sir Pradeep sir, Shri Pradeep sir, and Arpita ma'am, and all the mentors among with esteemed dignitaries for their valuable time and guidance. Thank you.
Thank you, Team L. Now the turn is for Team X actually to present.
Yes, Pooja has joined. Pooja, can you share your slide?
Yes, ma'am. Just a minute.
Best of luck.
Okay.
Hello, sir. Screen is visible?
Yeah, screen is visible.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. I'm Pooja Jadhav from DS NMITD Institute, and I take this honor to represent my institute and initiate presentation on state purification law in front of all esteemed dignitaries. I have another group member, so I will present what is state purification law. Purification is a judge's ability in law to divide a trial into two parts so as to render a judgment on a state of legal issues without looking to all aspects. State Reorganization Law Act 1956. The State Reorganization Act 1956 was a major reform of the boundaries of India's states and territories, organizing them along linguistic lines. Although additional changes to India's state boundaries have been made since 1956, the State Reorganization Act of 1956 remains the single most extensive change in state boundaries since the independence of India 1947. The Act came into effect at the same time as the Constitution's 7th Amendment Act 1956, which, among other things, restructured the constitutional framework for India's existing states and the requirements to pass the State Reorganization Act 1956 under the provisions of Part 1 of the Constitution of India, Articles 3 and 4. Here is the Act ID and Act year 1956, Act number as 37 and enactment date here. The State Reorganization Act 1956 reformed the boundaries of Indian state territories, systemizing them on language basis. The newly drafted Constitution of India, which came into force on 26 January 1950, distinguished states into 4 main parts. These are Part A, Part B, Part C, and Part D states. Part A states consist of the former governors, provinces of British India. These states were ruled by the elected governor and the state legislature. Part A states were Bombay, Madras, Assam, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, Orissa, and West Bengal. Part B states were former princely states or groups of princely states. These states were governed by Raj Pramukh. Raj Pramukh is the ruler, constituent state and elected as legislature. He was appointed by the President of India. It consists of Patiala, East Punjab States Union, Hyderabad, Jammu and Kashmir, Travancore, Cochin, Madhya Bharat, Mysore, Rajasthan, and Saurashtra. Part C states, it comprises both the former chief commissioners, provinces, and the some princely states. These were governed by the chief minister. Chief commissioner was appointed by the President of India. Part C states were Ajmer, Bhopal, Bilaspur, Kurg, Delhi, Himachal Pradesh, Kutch, Manipur, Tripura, and Vindhya Pradesh. Part D states, this state was administered a lieutenant governor appointed by the central government. It consists of Andaman and Nicobar Islands. The Jammu and Kashmir, states Reorganization Act. It is an act of Parliament of India containing larger Union Kashmir, which has been the subject of dispute among India, Pakistan, and China since 1947 into 2 union territories called Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh on 31st October 2019. A bill for the act was introduced by the Minister of Home Affairs, Amit Shah, in the Rajya Sabha on 5th August 2019 and was passed by the same day. It was then passed by the Lok Sabha on 6th August 2019 and it is received the President's assent on 9th August 2019. The Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Act 2014 was commonly known as the Telangana Act and is the act of our Indian Parliament that bifurcated the state of Andhra Pradesh into Telangana and the residuary Andhra Pradesh state. As an outcome of the Telangana movement, the act defined that the boundaries of 2 states determine how the assets and liabilities were to be divided and laid out to the status of Hyderabad as the permanent capital of New Telangana state and the temporary capital of Andhra Pradesh state. Here is Uttar Pradesh Reorganization Act 2019. It is an act of Parliament India enacted in 2000 for creation of the state of Uttarakhand, then tentatively named Uttaranchal out of Uttar Pradesh. The law was introduced by NDA government headed by PM Atal Bihari Vajpayee to fulfill their election promise. Then President K.R. Narayan signed the bill on 1st August 2019 and the 9th November 2000, Uttarakhand became the 27th state of Republic of India. The Assam, here is the Assam Reorganization Act the act to provide for the information within the state of Assam of an autonomous state to be known as Meghalaya for the matters connected therewith. Short title and commencement. The act may be called Assam Reorganization Meghalaya Act 1969. It shall come into force on such date as the central government may by notification in the official gazette appoint, provided by that different dates first may be appointed for the different provisions of this act. The Assam territory was first separated from Bengal in 1874 as the northeast frontier. Non-regulation provisions. It was incorporated into the new province of Eastern Bengal and Assam and re-established as a province in 1912. Here is a Bihar Reorganization Act 2019. Bihar Reorganization Act 2000 was a law passed by the Parliament of India in 2000. Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha passed the bill on 2 and 11 August respectively on 15 November 2000. It gave birth to new state Jharkhand. It created the state of Jharkhand from the portion of Bihar. The law was introduced by the NDA government headed by the Atal Bihari Vajpayee to fulfill the election promise. Yeah, thank you. And I would like to express my gratitude to Shri Pradeep sir and Arpita ma'am and all the members, all the mentors, along with esteemed dignitaries for their valuable time and guidance throughout the. Yeah, thank you, sir.
With this, we end up with for our today's session, that is first session. Can you stop your sharing so that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. By the time I request Animeshji to please speak on how the presentation was, and if he needs to please speak on team-wise, that will be better. Of course, we will be having an evaluation sheet. That is a separate issue, but some of the guidance or mentoring for these particular topics, how you are looking forward for that, and how exactly they have done. Please let us know. Animeshji, are you there? Okay. By the meantime, Advocate Ramarao ji is there.
Yes, sir. You can see me? You can see me, sir?
Yeah, I can.
And you can hear me also?
I can.
Yes, sir. So I have noted down some remarks, okay? I will read the remark itself, okay, so that I won't miss the context. I'm sure the experience must have given them all a great insight into some critical laws and issues pertaining to state bifurcation. So that is a wonderful exercise of all the participants and presenters. Every team has done excellent research and wonderful compilation into clear PPTs, wonderful PPTs. All the presentations, that is the PPTs, are worth using for any academic class. That is my strong opinion. So they can fix a price for that, no problem. Then next, all the presenters were very honest, safe, and stuck to research work only. Okay, they were very honest. We call it conservative opinion. Now, what I was expecting is, I was expecting your conclusion on the state bifurcation. Something like ferocious opinion about state bifurcation. Something like this. Was the state bifurcation worth the effort and cost? Such conclusions and opinions I was expecting, because I expect, see, most of the presenters were so enlightened. Who knows, they can be MLAs, MPs or MLCs in due future of time. So the exercise of state bifurcation, I have a critical view. Okay. Now, do I have an option to ask them questions?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Each team, I will ask one question, and that point I will add into critical thinking to analyze and formulate. That is my point, because I need to add. If not, I have found all of you on the same scale. Team has made a nice presentation, so 1 mark extra for them. If not, on four categories, that is presentation, clarity, critical thinking to analyze and formulate, translation of research analysis to information. Basically, I say all are good. Now comes now comes critical thinking to analyze and formulate. So I have formulated some 8 questions. So around 2 questions for each team I will ask. So team I, okay, what is your opinion about bifurcation of states that have recently taken place, like Telangana and Simandra? On what basis has the bifurcation taken place? Any state you analyze and tell me. That is team I.
Sir, can you please repeat the question?
Yeah, your opinion about bifurcation of states that have recently taken place, like Telangana and Simandra. On what basis has the bifurcation taken place? You analyze any state. Now I want your opinion.
On what reasoning actually this bifurcation is being done?
Bifurcated.
Either you take the case of Telangana or Uttarakhand or any of the states. Can you narrate the reasoning on that?
Yeah. And now I want your critical analysis. जैसे कि now comes reasoning now. कि फायदा था, worth था, नहीं था, जरूरत नहीं है. बहुत see, public opinion doesn't mean that you should translate what is there. You should also express should have happened or should not have happened. I will give you my opinion about Telangana. Okay, now I will tell you what my Telangana opinion is like this. I really didn't want that state to bifurcate. The reason being, you would have had maximum number of representatives in the parliament. Probably that could have brought better development rather than breaking into 2 parts. And I will tell you, the return on investment will take some decades together. Creation of a state is such a huge expenses on the exchequer. It is unparalleled. It is unparalleled. You have to recreate it, like creating another country. I am of a very typical opinion that bifurcation should not have happened. They could have done it in a different way, for which again I will express, I will ask your opinion. I too will give you a solution. Okay, now tell me.
So the state bifurcation is. Yes, sir.
कौन सा state का बोलिए, बहुत अच्छा था बोलिए.
So the state bifurcation is depend majorly on the area, sir. As you mentioned in the state bifurcation of the Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, yes, it is uneven distribution of the human resources as well as the land resources. But if we see the bifurcation of the Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh, sir, as we see, if we see the history of the Ladakh region, sir, at that time it was the policy was to be a part of China or Nepal, but it chooses to be a part of the we can say India. Sir, for this reason, the special area, the Union Territory of special Ladakh was assigned. But sir, if we see based on these, we can say differentiate between these both, sir. Both one has pros and one other has cons. Sir, the Telangana, the unevenly distribution of the resources is the major problem in the region. But sir, we see the development of the different communities. Sir, it was totally unacceptable to the country. Sir, the major reason for the bifurcation of the Telangana and Andhra Pradesh was the unequal distribution of the resources among the communities.
Okay. Nice. Nice, man. I was expecting opinion. That is what you reasoned out. Anyway, nice. Aryan,
I need to add one thing. We have only 20 more minutes. Okay, so discussions are go up to 20 minutes, not more than that. And because anyway, you have to actually discuss on.
Yeah. Okay. So now immediately. Okay. One new question to Team H. Do you think it was necessary to have state bifurcation after the initial bifurcation, state formation, to Team H? Just give a simple opinion. Don't struggle with research work and all. Just opinion, analysis,
single line opinion.
Yes, that's all. उसमें ठीक है, गलत है, जरूरत नहीं. आपको opinion है. That is most important.
Sir, I don't think basically after the prehistoric, sir, we don't need any type of bifurcation, because then after that, if we create if we create states based on the caste or community, there will be rivalries between them, and this will be lead to you know cultural bifurcation.
Yeah,
Basically,
yeah,
it will
yes,
be
yes, yes, yes,
cultural
yes,
bifurcation.
yes. Pooja, justified. Nice, ferocious answer. Wonderful. Okay.
So she was
Now,
Lavina. Sorry to disturb. She's
yeah, Lavina. You want to add anything?
Lavina.
Lavina, Pooja, quick. Make it quick, short. Very nice. Lavina, very ferocious reply. Okay, now Team K. Yeah, Pooja, do you want to add anything? Lavina has given her opinion immediately. 2 shots, because my colleague also has to ask some questions.
So she don't need to give. So you can proceed.
Yeah, okay. Then Team K. Now, which was worth bifurcation soon after independence or the recent 20th century bifurcation? Which have been worthy?
Sir, I'm Dheeraj. I'm from Team K. I think the one after the independence was more appropriate than the current bifurcation of the state. I think what the main reason behind the bifurcation in the recent time was that the Telangana people are being more oppressed, and the Andhra people are giving more special status or something like that. So I think in the recent bifurcation is more like a personal agenda of the TRS party that they have to come under control. I think it's something like that.
Yes. Now
It's
your
more
colleague,
personal agenda of the.
yeah. Okay, good answer. Your colleague Sai.
It's Tejal, sir.
Tejal has given. Now Sai wants to give any reply. Dheeraj.
Sir, my name is Dheeraj and I'm speaking, and my other teammate is Tejal.
Okay. Tejal wants to express anything, wants to add something, or it's okay? It's a team opinion.
No, ma'am. No, sir.
Okay.
As
Then
same
Team
as
L.
I said.
Yes. Okay. Same. Nice. So Team L, see, is it worth having Team L, Saili, is it worth having more MPs, MLAs or MLCs? Team L, is it worth having more member of parliament or more member of legislative assembly or MLCs, members of legislative council? Which is better?
MLAs, sir.
MLAs are better. That means state classification you don't prefer. Yeah, give your opinion fast. Okay. Right. Then Team F, are you ready?
Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah. Which state bifurcated recently has been better developed, or which state which has been bifurcated during or created during soon after independence has been better developed?
Sir, I think it's Jammu and Kashmir, I can say.
Jammu and Kashmir is better. अभी तो recently हुआ ना, उसका प्रभाव भी मालूम नहीं होगा. See, I am of the opinion that Jammu and Kashmir, more than bifurcation, it is like taking it into India. That was the major factor. So it is part of India. The controversies will reduce. That is what I opinion. You can be ferocious. इसमें डरने वाली बात नहीं है. So it is like annexing into. It is almost like Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel ji taking away Goa and Hyderabad, Karnataka area into the country on the same scale. That's a wonderful political decision. You have any other opinion? Which state has been better developed? Jammu and Kashmir, it is yet to develop now. Let us see what will happen in due course of time.
Other than I think I can
Which
say
is developed?
yeah, I can say Telangana and
Telangana is developed. Okay, students. Anyway, thank you very much. See, critical thinking is the culminating effect of whatever you have garnered. And now come see, since you are not only doing policy thinking, you are thinking like managers. See, I would say the country management and your company management, there is hardly much difference. there is a company is already existing when you join, but after you join, you make a difference. So similarly, the country was created into some forums soon after independence for various reasons. But now the reasons have differed for bifurcation. My opinion is bifurcation is not required. We need more MPs, more districts, and we don't need more states, more revenue classification rather than state classification, because administration is the ultimate effect, not political decision. So thank you very much, sir. Wonderful presentation. I appreciate all the students, and I have reviewed my critical thinking marks to each one of them. That makes a major difference. Right. Thank you, sir. Thank you, President, sir. Thank you, Arpita madam, and thank you to all the presenters.
I'm waiting for your evaluations. Okay, for each of the teams, those who have presented. Animesh ji,
Yes, sir,
please, if you queries, if you have any suggestions for our team members, please let us know.
Yeah, sure. Hi. First of all, I mean, I don't have any queries, and every team has actually taken up a very complex topic, as per se, because it involves a lot of legal issues as well, and it needs a lot of understanding regarding legal aspects of state bifurcation laws, and also the abrogation of Article 370 in the Jammu and Kashmir. So I think, I mean, they have done a marvelous job by taking up all this and in a very good way. So lots of technical inputs have been discussed by Rama Rao sir. What I will share is about how to make your presentation in a better way, or how to present it in a better way. So so every team needs to understand that one thing, that and I would like to answer any of one of the volunteers or anyone who would like to answer, like how do we make milk tea in India? Anyone? Milk tea, normal tea which we drink at home or at any restaurant or any tea shop. How do we make that tea? I mean, what are the ingredients of that tea? Can anyone tell?
So we boil the milk and add the sugar and other ingredients.
Yes, and tea leaves as well. Tea leaves
Yes,
as well.
sir.
Right. So we actually add sugar, tea leaf, milk, and water. That's all. Huh? These four things only. No? Basically
Yes,
these
sir.
four things. Okay, great. But how and what happens that, I mean, somewhere, I mean, everyone mix these four, but some people like someone's tea, or we prefer a tea at a particular tea stall because that is a better tea or that is a tasty tea. So what happens then? I mean, why we prefer a particular shop for having a tea? Why when everyone is using the same kind of a thing, then why it is like we tend to prefer a tea of some particular shop? Anyone?
Sir, based on environment.
And correct, environment
Their
is
taste also, sir. They have some
taste
different
also.
tastes. They
Very nice, very nice. I mean, taste is what I wanted to listen. So yes, so these two things are important actually in the presentation as well. Whenever we are having a similar topic for the presentation, so definitely, I mean, these are the legal topics, or if any one of you will be presenting on COVID or any other thing, so more or less content will be the same. So all the ingredients of the tea will remain same. What matters will be the environment and how you are making it more impactful, how you are making it more, I will say in a term of tea, that how will you make it more tasty actually. So to avoid that, some of the things which, I mean, you need to practice in future also, and whenever you will join your corporate job or any social work also, one thing which we must avoid is, like, we must not read the presentation slides. So what is the purpose of the PowerPoint presentation or any slide deck is that as a presenter, I don't want to forget any high level point, which I don't want to miss any important point. So PowerPoint presentation is, the name is the PowerPoint. So those are the points which you don't want to miss this in discussion, or while presenting to any client, while presenting to your faculty, while presenting to any of the arena. So I mean, most of the presenters have started reading the slides. So it happened like, if you could have emailed me or anyone, I mean, we could have also read if we know the English. So this thing was missing. Like you don't need to read all the paragraphs, all these big paragraphs. You don't need. And second thing is, in the presentation, do not put more than 8 bullet points. I mean, 8 is the maximum ceiling point. So more than 8 bullets in any particular slide is too much of information, actually. Third thing is like, whenever we are presenting any topic, so I think one of the team has, I think Team H has also shared that references also, which is a very good practice, unfortunately, I do not remember who were the part of Team H, but I mean, they have provided reference in the last slide of their presentation. I mean, moving to the next level, what you can do is, there is a feature in the PowerPoint and also in the feature in the Microsoft Word. If you're using the Microsoft product, there is a feature of superscript. Okay, so whenever there is a, I mean, for example, if there is a slide 1 and you are talking about Article 370 and you have quoted something, some text in the double inverted comma, try to mention in the at the bottom of the slide, or at the bottom of the slide, that okay, in the superscript, that okay, this particular reference I have took from particular, I mean, this literature review. Maybe it may be a journal, it may be a website, it may be any reference book. What it will inculcate is, as a reader, or even as a judge, or even as your mentor or faculty, they will know that okay, this particular point you have referred from this particular site, because at the end of the presentation I might forget, okay, you have showed 10 references, but okay, which one you have used where, I do not know. Remember, this is all about the presentation. This is not about your dissertation report or any research writing, because in the research writing you prefer, I mean, you tend to put all the references at the end, but in the presentation try to mention it in the same slide where you are using that particular point. And last thing which everyone should be aware, that your slide deck should have a uniformity in terms of format, in terms of color, in terms of font size also, and in terms of images also. Whenever you are putting some image, you also, I mean, just check that if the image is not blurred. If the image is blurred, try to use the another image, or you don't use the image at all. So I mean, it is all up in your hand. It is all in the hands of the presenter, because that has, I mean, he or she has the PowerPoint, not the audience. So it all, I mean, all the independence is with you, all the freedom is with you. So I mean, it should not be like one slide heading is in blue, one slide heading is in the black. It should not be done. I mean, whenever you are presenting in future, keep all these things in mind, that because I mean, this is a very internal group. This is all about the learning. But the showcasing is also important in today's world. As a public policy expert, or as a public policy professional, everyone has a knowledge. Everyone has access to books. Everyone has access to Google. But what value at the end of the day is that taste of the tea. So always remember, the taste of the tea is very, very important. That's where people will like you. That's where people will start loving you. That's where people will start recognizing you. So I mean, with this, I would like to, I mean, close my feedback and remarks. But I mean, all of you have done a very, very remarkable job. I mean, taking up all this very complicated. It was not an easy. It was not an easy subject or topic to discuss and present it in a very briefly, in a very brief way. So I mean, thank you everyone actually, and I'm very impressed with all the kind of discussions which we had and the kind of presentation we have shown. But all these things are point to improve further, so that I mean, in the next presentations, I mean, you get more likes, and you get, I mean, you are more confident about what you are presenting. Despite reading, start reflecting on what Rama Rao sir has said also, that implication has to be shared. I mean, theory is one part, but second part is what implications are there. Everyone would like to know your opinion about it. So there are things in the black and white, it's fine. But as a public policy professional, or as even in a social work, or in engineering, or in IT sector, wherever you will be working, so people would like to know that, okay, the code is in the Java, that's fine, but the need of the client or demand of the client is something else. What are your thoughts? So you should be able to share your thoughts and opinion as well. So a slide or one or two slides on your thoughts, on your opinion, or even on the contrast of that entire legal aspect or entire topic should also be covered somewhere in the future. So that's all. And thank you everyone. Thank you Rama Rao sir and Pradeep ji also, and Dr. Kasturi Naik. Thanks everyone. Thanks students.
Yeah. Thank you, Rai sir. Wonderful tips about PPT. I noted your points.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Advocate Ramaraoji, and thanks to Mr. Animesh ji for your concluding remarks. What I need to add on here, actually, I'm very well agreeing on how whenever we should present, how the critical thinking is actually playing the role on the presentation part. Firstly. Secondly, thankful to Animesh ji. He has presented the art of presentation to our newly students, of course, I must say. They might be learning on this, and this learning comes shall go on, keep on doing. What I was looking for is one thing is sure, you guys have done a tremendous job, marvelous job. You have presented nicely. Secondly, you have taken the consideration of timings. That is for 21 minutes for each of the team, and each of the team members had were there in that particular time slot. Now let me give you my actually idea what I was looking for whenever you are into this presentation and the topic is such shape. What I was looking for is if someone is having a critical thinking on state bifurcation. So how exactly the state bifurcation starts? The critical thinking can be on the histories of that. What can be the more movements? How that movement actually has started gaining the potential? What was the political mandate on that? And then coming on to the what is exactly the social status of an state? If you really know the social status of an state, then you can analyze your critical thinking around that particular state bifurcation. Why people or the movement was there for state bifurcation? Why people are more talking about the states? Why Telangana was forcing union government to go for bifurcation, or even other states also? Why other communities are focusing more on that? Why we should go for a state bifurcation? Coming to this social status, now once you are into the presentation of bifurcation of law, bifurcation of states, what you need to present is, although TK, the article was there, this is being done likewise. What are the effects of that? What can be the effects of those bifurcation? Jammu and Kashmir is the very first case. So we cannot take the consideration of what can be the effects of those bifurcations. But Telangana and other 3 states, those were bifurcated in 2014, and there is somewhere 7 years of gap. So what we need to present on the critical thinking is what can be the economical developments came in across these 4 states: Uttarakhand, Telangana, Jharkhand, and likewise Chhattisgarh. What was the economical development carried on? How the job creation is being done? What is the GDP ratio, whether it's been declined or raised by those particular states? What is the monetary benefit they got? What is the monetary profit they have inculcated? So these kind of critical thinking, if you are presenting in the way of for the state bifurcation, because if you present these kind of the presentation, or if you present these kind of thoughts, narrating the particular effect of those particular bifurcation, then the critical thinking is actually the sound one. No one has taken these considerations, of course. I must say here, only the team H has taken the complete notion of actually presenting how to go for state bifurcation. And secondly, I really admire that, because it's a very it's a topic which even our judiciary is also discussing on, whether to go for a this thing, state bifurcation or not. So this is a very complex topic, and you guys have taken it very marvelously, I must say. It's good that you have taken this. We will be sharing this presentation, and we will be sharing the evaluation sheet by today evening. Out of this today's first presentation, first session, only one will be the winner, and that you will come to know by evening only. So thanks to all our mentors, thanks to Kasturi, thanks to speakers, thanks to interns, those who are present here. I'm ending up the session for today. That is for first session, and we will start the second session by 12 o'clock. So best of luck to all those who are presenting in second session. Thank you to all. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All the best. Thank you.